Greetings, dear community. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Close to the Bones, Women's Stories of Transformation. Today's conversation is held upon Warramai land in the Tea Gardens mid-north coast of New South Wales. I'm excited to share with you conversations with extraordinary women who have alchemized the pain, the suffering, and the challenges of life into love embodied. This podcast series is dear to my heart and been incubating for several years. It has emerged from my work called Bone Woman, a teaching process I developed to support women to consciously elder. It feels right for me to begin with my mother, warmly called Yiayia E'Katerini. On the 8th of December this year, it will be 80 years since she witnessed the massacre of the men and boys by Nazi soldiers of her village Rogous, situated in the remote mountainside of the Peloponnese. She was only 8 years old. It is such a blessing and an honour that she is with us still to share some of her story. This conversation was recorded around the kitchen table at the home of my sister Liz, where Yiayia E'Katerini lives now. That one that you sang with the cycles of the moon, I've not heard you sing that one before. I got a shock when I heard that one.
Το φεγγάρι κάνει βόλτα, στις αγάπης μου την πόρτα. Το φεγγάρι κάνει κύκλο, στις αγάπης μου τον κήπο.
Mum, do you want to translate that song into English?
No, just said,
words, yeah.
Look at the moon, it shines elegantly.
Yeah.
And come to sleep, come to bed to sleep with me before we get tired of it, and then luck will separate us.
Oh, like fate will separate us.
Fate will separate us.
So,
Και η μοίρα πρωτού μας χωρίσει.
Oh, mira is like the fate,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like, what does it say? It says the moon makes a cycle. Yeah, do you want to...
Το φεγγάρι κάνει βόλτα.
Oh, it goes for a walk.
Walk around in my lover's door.
Ah.
Κάνει βόλτα στις αγάπης μου την πόρτα. Το φεγγάρι κάνει κύκλο, στις αγάπης μου τον κήπο in my lover's garden.
Oh, I like that song. It's beautiful. So, Mum, when I was looking through all my things at home, I realised that it's 80 years since the massacre in your Horiot. It's 80 years this year. And we've grown up with this story, you know, all of our lives and everything like that, but it's a story that many people don't know about. So I was just hoping that maybe you could share some of the memories of that day. Do you know how it was in the morning of that day before that happened? Like what you were doing? Do you remember what you were doing that day? I think you were 8, weren't you?
It was the 8th of December, 1943. And the Germans started coming to our town, walking on the top of the town, and walking one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. That's about 3,000 of them. And they passed our town, some of them stayed, and the rest of them, they kept going, and they're going to Calavrita, which is a Comopoli. What do you call a Comopoli? A city which is not full city, it's half city, yeah? Comopoli.
Yeah, it's like it's the larger town within the province.
Yeah, but it's called something.
Yeah.
We call it Comopoli.
Mm-hmm.
And they going there. And then the ones that stayed in my town, they said, nobody should go away, otherwise we'll kill all the men in the town. So people wasn't going away, but there was one particular fellow who was in the Albanian war, and he was young, and he said to his father, what are we doing now? His father said, well, we're shut in the church, because they put us in the church. He said, we talk to God now, we'll just pray, we don't know.
Mm.
He said, yeah, but you stopped me from going away, Dad. He said, yeah, I did, but just forgive me. I didn't mean for you to be in here, because I don't know what I'm going to do. Anyway, the day is gone, and my grandfather, he was the mayor of the town, and we had, because it was winter time, a lot of quinces hanging from the ceiling, and another fruit that looks like a cherry, but it wasn't cherry, so I don't know how to call it. Like a plum.
Mm.
And one of the Germans there, which is called Tenner, his name called Tenner, said, I want you to build some of the quinces and some of the others so you can give me some to eat. And my grandfather peeled it for him, and he took him, he filled up his pockets. Anyway, and then they went to the top of the town and they started cooking for wherever soldiers stay in the town. So they cooked for them. In about 4:30 in the afternoon, they tried to collect all the men in one spot. They said to the men, but they said it in plain Greek, you come into the church, our soldiers will pay you for all the damages they done every day, all the day. So everybody went into the church. And when they went in, they shut one door, shut the back door, another back door, and then they said 6 out. They called 6 of them out in Greek, in plain Greek. 6 people came out. One of them was my father's brother, the first one, and the bullets just killed him. And then another 6 and another 6 until they finished them. And in the end, my dad was in the church and with the teacher, and he was on top of the ceiling. So they talked about it, and they said, we're going to die here anyway because the fire is coming. So we've got to find a way out if we can. And they decided they'll jump out through the door and jump a wall, 8 meters wall. Live or not live, it didn't matter at that particular moment because they were killing the people. So that's what they done, and they went and hidden themselves behind the church door, which that church door had all the colorful glass, green, red, and you couldn't see them outside. So the teacher said, I'm going now. So he went, he tried to go, but the German was outside and killed him on the doorstep of the church. My father didn't go straight away, but then this fella called Tanner, he put his hands in his pocket and put the quinces out and started eating them while he was killing the people. And my father thought, if I see his back, then I'll just, as I see his back while he's going that way, I'll try to jump the wall. Because outside was a wall and it was a fence, and he had to jump to find the little door to get through the fence and jump the wall to 8 meters. But he done that, and he jumped. But there must have been a German on the top and shot him. One bullet went through his eye here and came out of here.
His throat came out of his throat, yeah
but
through the face.
The bullet came out from
his cheekbone.
Came in from here and came out of there. Anyway, while he was there, he didn't move. 2 Germans went on top of him because they were going all around the dead ones to give him the last bullet. And they said something, and they didn't shoot him. But they didn't think he was alive because he was full of blood everywhere, like all his head. So they left, and a while later she said, what do I do now? Will I move a bit? And then he lifted his head up. He looked that way, and he looked that way and said, why did I leave? Why? My children and my wife and everybody's dead. Because that's how it seemed like it. All the houses down that way were burning, and the houses down this way were burning. And he thought, his kids are dead, Anyway, that's over. He started jumping from one fence to another, and he came in the cemetery and jumped out of the cemetery. And then my brother and 3 other boys, they had taken their animals out that morning, the lambs, and they were coming back to see what's happening in the town because they could see the fire. And where they were coming back, they found my father in a ditch, and thought he was German. They were going to go back. And they tried to speak, and his voice was coming out of his throat. And he tore his coat and put it here to stop his voice from going through that way, so you can tell him who he is, and told them who he was. And the boys took him, put him on a ladder, and they took him up to my house, but outside in the garden, covered him with some tin stuff, because the Germans kept coming back. It was about 11 o'clock in the night by that time. Anyway, and then they kept going to Calavrita. They went to the next town, Kerpigny. They killed whoever they could kill. And from there, they went to Calabrata and they started killing the Calabrata people about a week later.
Yeah, that was, hundreds upon hundreds of people got killed in
for
Calabrata.
1700.
Yeah. So this was like a retaliation, wasn't it, for some rebel activity, and they came to make an example of your village first. Yeah.
3 months earlier, I think in August or something, 80 Germans came by our town, and they were loaded up with their stuff, like soldiers with the carry stuff. They didn't come into town. They didn't touch nobody. They just stood there on the wall, one after the other. I remember them. One after the other, and they opened their pockets, and they brought out some bread which was called galeta. It was very, very thin, and that's what they were eating. And then they found this boy, which was a little bit funny, and they said to him, "We want you to take us to Calabrata." And what would he do? They took him to Calabrata, and then his father came into town, and he found out that they took his boy, and he went and found some of the guerrillas. He says, "You come to my house every day. You eat, you drink, and I never charge you anything or tell you I'm not going to give you anything. They took my son, and you didn't care." He said, "Where is it?" He said, "It's gone now. It's going towards Calabrata." So they got another 300 of them together on the top of the mountain, and they waited for the Germans to see what they're going to do. Germans, when they had to come to Calabrata, and they were on the creek, and it was too much down. When they heard the bullets coming on top of their heads, they had to go upwards to see if they can save themselves. So they went on the top of the mountain, and that's where they were waiting for them, and they had this big wall on their hand. And then a couple of them, 2 or 3 of them are dead, and they are buried in my town in the corner of the cemetery. And one of them in E'Katerini. And one of them, we looked after him. He was wounded. So a few days later, the Germans came to pick up the wounded one and to say thank you very much for looking after him. That's what I said. They came to thank us for looking after they comrade, whatever. And what all they wanted was to kill the rest of the people in Calabrata. I don't remember anything else.
And so, Mum, you were 8 years old at the time, and you had there were 10 siblings altogether, in your brothers and your sisters and your mum. So really, with the age of the people that were killed, they were like from 14 to...
From 14 to 100.
To about, all the old men as well.
Yeah, well, they killed Ababa Dimitraki in front of us. Just put the gun on his ear and shot him on the ditch there as you going up to go towards the church.
Well, that's a very horrendous thing for a child to witness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said you went up to the church with your mother, is that right?
Yeah, to search for my father.
And did any of your other siblings join you?
No, I don't remember the others. The others were running around fixing other things, I suppose. It's more or less they're bringing water up to put the fire out, because we put the fire out 3 times. Because they were determined to burn that particular house because it belonged to my grandfather, because he was the mayor of town. And we had some water at the stand under it. And with saucepans and all that, we were bringing water and put it out. But then you don't think that there's a danger there, because
you're just busy doing what you have to do in that moment. And do you remember, as a child, how that was, walking with your mother up to that church? That must have been a truly awful experience.
Yeah, no, and my mum says, "Don't worry, I'm here too, not be scared." I think she was scared too. She would want me to be with her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, out of all of the siblings, that happened to be you. And what did you discover when you got to the church?
We found our uncle, and we got a couple of other women who can carry him down because there was no men left. And then the boys came home and they said, "Barpadrico is alive, he's alive. We just found him. So they found my father. So there were the two brothers who lived that night. Only his brother had 13 bullets in him. He lived 13 days. I remember I was standing behind the door, and we brought this doctor in from the other town. And that doctor, every time they said, Germans are coming, had to leave him undone, the bandages undone and everything, and go. And I remember he said, tutto spaitora, he's gone now. Because he could see my uncle in the bed down there. My father was next to him, but he said, tutto spaitora. And before he changed his bed first, his hand first, because he had gangrene. And by the time he wrapped it all up, he was dead.
So, in reality, it sounds like your father, my papu, Andrea, was the only survivor of that particular massacre.
There's another one which they never knew. He hidden behind besides the bodies. Then he ran away and when he hit himself in the cave of a tree. You know what do you call it when the tree you can get in and
in a hollow of a tree. Yeah. And so now, well, you've got a village of women and children, is that right? Having to deal with the consequences of this terrible
and everything
thing.
was burning, your bread, your wheat and cheese and Parmesan cheese. It was burning for 6 months. You could see the smoke coming up because it was under the rubble. You could see the smoke coming up for 6 months.
So this was all the food that you prepare and you store because you don't
we had
have
potatoes, beans, chickpeas, lentils, all the things onions, garlic, all the things you can keep for the winter time. They were down there.
Yeah.
And the wine, of course. We had about 6-7 big, huge barrels of wine.
So you were describing once how in the windowsills, they're very deep and wide windowsills in this very old house, that one of your aunties was putting corrugated iron in it and lighting fires in the windowsill.
Put the coals on it and lighting fires to show that the house is burning. Otherwise I would never left that night until the house burned.
Gee, that was good thinking. And so you were saying also too that for these women, they had to now bury all of their
husbands
men.
and sons, and not only that, the young ladies had all their trousseau.
That's right.
The Germans would just put the fire down and put the whole box, like the glory box on the fire.
Tip all of that stuff on.
When the fire finished, you would see these beautiful lights, down in the ground.
So these were all the things that, a young woman in a village would be preparing for her wedding. She'd be weaving
most of the people
mats.
were killed outside the church, and they pulled them slowly and put them in front of the school. And some of the burial things got four brothers in it. Some of them got 3 in it, some did 2 because they were too heavy to carry to the cemetery.
Oh, I see. Okay. So let's just go for 1 minute, just back into the dowries that were destroyed. They were like very important part of the culture of village life, is the women would make these beautiful things for their married life.
Married,
Their sheets, their blankets, their mats. They would weave everything from their own sheep, their own goats. They would dye everything with the walnut dye.
My nuna, Yiayia, she had all these beautiful things done by hand, because she married very light. And every time the year passed, she made more and more and more. And they're very elegant things,
So a lot of those beautiful skills didn't then get passed on, really, because there was
nobody to pass it on to.
There was no evidence of them anymore to have them. You were telling us that a loom, you remember a loom.
Yeah. In that town there was quiet. For about 3 or 4 months there was nobody speaking.
So the women couldn't grieve properly.
Yeah.
They were frozen.
Yeah.
Speaking about being frozen, I think you were telling me one day that it was winter and the ground was ice and the ground was frozen really hard to be able to bury all of the people.
To dig for them.
How did all of the women organise themselves? Did they come together? Was there
they all dug together. Sometimes we could find the men in the other town and help, not to finish it, because it's a big job.
Yeah.
It's not a small job.
Yeah.
You got to bury them 6 feet under. Otherwise the smell would come and the body won't dissolve. You have to do it properly. But eventually, after 1 year, they took them all out and put them in the cemetery.
Oh, that happened. So really, in a way, your family, with your father surviving and then recovering from his wounds, your family were kind of like a centerpiece in a way for that Horio of Rogous. Is that right?
Because my grandfather was the Proedros Horio president.
So he was killed in that massacre.
And when he came out of the church, they were killing people. He said 6 out and 6 out. He started swearing at them. They called them murderers and called them all the things under the sun. And they shot him just on the doorstep of the church. And then my mum saw this fella going away while we were looking for bodies. Saw this fella going away from my grandfather. And she went and says, "Hey, Dad, wake up now, he's gone. They're gone." And he wasn't, my grandfather was dead. But it was this fella who was very, very last in the church. And he came down and he went and hit him near my grandfather. So the thing is dead, they wouldn't shoot him. And when he saw us being around, he thought, oh, well, there's not much danger now, I can run. So he ran and went and hid in the hole of a tree. But I remember Mum saying, "Hey, Dad, get up now, get up, they're gone."
And so it was her father that was the mayor, your grandfather?
My mother's father.
And what was his name?
Nico. That's what we call Nico. In Panau, we wouldn't have a Panau. Only my grandfather had a brother Panau who had been killed on the Asiatic War. And he really insisted that he didn't want his name to come up first. He wanted to resurrect his brother, which he died in near Turkey.
Because there's a real culture of handing the names on, isn't it, in our culture? Yeah. So you've always shared this story with us, Mum, so we know where we come from and who we are in relation to that story. And I first went to Greece when I was 22. And my experience in that Horio is, in that village, I met the most beautiful, most loving people I could ever meet. It was it really blew my mind, actually, and to see the love that you all had with each other and the way you all sang to each other, and this experience made you all, well, I'm sure you're all beautiful people anyway, but it just made you all very deep and really close, and that energy of that has come through us here now and into the grandchildren. So, Mum, how old were you when you migrated to Australia? Your real age?
Yeah, my real age. Well, everybody tells me the same thing. It's a mistake, which I didn't make. They make that mistake.
So you were 17 when you came to Australia?
17,
yeah? Yeah, still very young.
I came to Australia in 1954. Now you can find out my age.
Okay, all right.
I'm born in 1934 near Dinoset. Because I know I'm born in 1935, I don't care what they say.
So what was your impressions of Australia when you got here?
Terrible. We had to go to Patras, sit there under a tree, and it's pouring rain, to get a picture, my little picture.
Yeah, like a passport photo?
Yeah, which it says 165 on it.
Oh, that was your number. That's right. You were no longer E'Katerini.
A person.
You were number 165.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that part of? Was that a part of a migration?
I don't know. They never tell you. They just stick things on you and then they take a picture.
And you were
then they took us in this room, and they told us to undress, to take all our clothes off and wrap them up as well as we could. But they put the woman in this room, they put the men in another room, and we had to do what they said we had to do. So we took our clothes off and bundled them up as much as well as we could, and they took them. And then when they brought this water in 2 or 3 different waters,
did they spray you with this water? To
get the sickness away from us. We, mountain people, we didn't have any sickness. Anyway, and then they started checking their clothes back in. I can see it in front of me now after all these years. And some of the clothes that just got untied. So one lose a bra, you lose a petticoat, you lose a, you know.
That must have been very humiliating for you.
It was terrible because, you know what I said, they put the men in separate rooms, and there's this huge window, and the men were undressed, and we could see them all, so they could see us in Athens, in Piraeus.
And Mum, was this part of a migration policy to bring migrants over from Europe?
Yeah.
Was this all part of that formula that you had your number?
Australia needed
you had
people.
To be processed.
Look, Australia needed people, and they had to take people from the countries which they need to get out most, because there's other countries which they didn't need to get out, but English people need to get out because they had all this population. What would I do that? We needed to get out because we had everything burned and we had to start a new life. But they shouldn't let the young people go away. That's what the mistakes governments made. They should not let all the young people go away.
And so for people who have got respect and modesty and all those things are really important for the way you live, and you know.
Yeah, they break you down, I think.
Yeah, all of that. That was the beginning part before.
I mean, we came to Bonegilla, and we had to. We could not bring any food out or food into the canteen where they were serving food. We wasn't supposed to do this. We had to take our plates and go down there in the waters. There's 3 different waters. We wash them first, rinse them second, and rinse them 3rd time so that all the germs will go away. What germs? We didn't have germs.
Well, as a very young woman, perhaps you weren't 17, perhaps you were 18 if we do our maths. Regardless of that, you were like a young woman, from your town, and also you were very bright. So you.
No, I didn't call myself a woman because I just came out of school and that. So you don't class yourself as a woman, even if you are.
Yeah, and you'd been educated as well. It must have felt so strange for you to be in this environment. Yeah,
I've been on the boat for 32 days, and I was sick all the time. I only had a glass of lemonade on those 32 days, and now I'm amazed that I'm still alive.
And you landed first where? In Perth?
In Perth.
Yeah.
Well, only for an hour. And they had 3 big tables outside full of this fruit, and it was persimmon, and we thought it was tomatoes. We thought, tomatoes, we get some tomatoes. Because we were allowed to take some from those stands. And it was persimmon. Well, when we saw it's not tomato, we just left them.
So what else was on those tables to eat?
Nothing in those tables. Then we got back in the boat, and we had to put our, what do you call it, the thing you're not drowned with it.
Oh, your life jackets.
Yeah, life jacket on you, because the ocean became so bad, and everybody was screaming, "Come up the deck!" And they were putting the side boats down. We nearly drowned in Fremantle,
Wow.
And it was, after all this time, being in the ship and nearly drowned near Australia.
Oh, almost at your destination. And then where was the next port of call?
And then we came to Melbourne. They took us out, and they said, "Look, on the way, you're going to be in the place where you're going to stay, but on the way, the train will stop and you'll have dinner, but you must not take more than 10 minutes. And get back in the train, because otherwise it's because it was a very fast train. I thought I'd never seen anything faster before." And we went, And so they had all this huge place, and they had it full of white cloth and white tables, and everything was white in that place. Only there was 2 sausages on the plate with white sauce on it, and next to it was a little bit of grape and a piece of apple and a piece of pear. So we looked at the sausages, never seen them before. Just took the fruit and gone.
You took the real food.
Yeah, we took the fruit and gone.
Yeah.
Then I got to Banagila about 11 or 12 o'clock in the night, and they had to put you in certain places. They told us to go in number 5, so we went number 5, go in. There was 2 beds in there, but it wasn't fixed. There were clean clothes on it. You had to fix it yourself, and only they had in Greek written, and in Australia, that you're not allowed to take bread in your bedroom. You're not allowed to take fruit in your bedroom. You're not allowed to take anything. And then before 9 o'clock, you should go out to the breakfast. Otherwise, there'll be no breakfast for you. So we had to get up and take a tray with a cup in it and plate and whatever. And we went to the canteen, and there's this fella with his big spooning this big porridge or whatever it was in it. We looked at it.
And you were horrified? You pushed it
Don't you
aside.
want any? No?
You pushed it aside.
Pushed it aside, and we were hungry, all right? And then we started going around Bonagilla and found out that the rabbits were walking down there, you know, there was so much rabbits in Australia in those days. So we get some sticks, kill the rabbit, and we pinch the salt from the table inside. And we had rabbits.
Over an open fire? Yeah.
Because we had to eat something.
Oh, you said you ate the jam, is that right?
Yeah, I ate a bit of quince jam.
A bit of quince jam, yeah.
Because I used to bring it in these big pots.
And so, Mum, you were saying that the men were separate from the women?
Yeah, they
were separated.
Now we stayed there in Bonagilla for 13 days, and then they put us in a train. They told us we're coming to Sydney. When we come to Sydney, they separate the men from the women, but they didn't say they separate them. They put us on a bus, and they left the men on the train because to keep going to Wollongong. And we came up here somewhere. The aeroplanes getting up here.
Cessnock?
We could see the aeroplanes coming up, you know. But we were in the bush, and they had all these barracks built for the Australians. And they give you one of them, then you can sleep in there. But no husbands. We didn't know where they were. And a lady came and she said she remembered I was with them, but I don't know, for some reason or other put me separately from all the other women. Say they were down there and I was in here, separate with Yugoslavs and Italians, whatever they were next door. They didn't touch you or anything, but you're scared, you're hearing this different language, you never heard it before. And then Nota, his name was, she said, I've been looking for you. Because I used to leave my the window open, you know, the windows would go open like that.
Like the louvers.
The grilla, we call it, grillas.
Yeah, the louver windows, yeah.
And I thought somebody will see me. It was just a thing in my brain, so that somebody would see me, because I was pregnant too, you know. And Nota saw me. She says, I'm looking for you for 5 days now. I said, yeah, I've been in here. I said, because I can't move. I was exhausted. And she said, we can't take things as I work in the canteen, but we can't take things. But I'll try to get you something. So she came with a bit of bread and a bit of jam on it, like queens. She said, I had to steal that. And you got any money? I said, yeah, I got £1. £1 in those days would have fit 3 families for weeks. And she said, I'll go to the shop, buy you something. And we went to the shop to get me something, and what they sold her, it was a tin of IXL pictures, and they gave her 20-cent change.
2 shillings.
2 shillings change.
Wow, what a rip-off, hey?
There goes the pound.
Yeah. Yeah.
They made a lot of money, those people with the canteens, because there wasn't Australian. They were German and Russians, I think.
Everybody was trying to exploit everybody else.
Because they were making the goulash. Because when I went to school and I was working up there for the government, we had 3 or 4 ladies making goulash every morning, goulash. I didn't know what goulash was, but it was all these big chunks of meat. And we had they put it in the plate. Now you start to take the plate and take it into that hole and give it to the men behind it. And then go back, get the other one.
So your hunger didn't consume you enough for you to eat something that felt abhorrent to your taste.
I didn't eat porridge. I didn't eat goulash or porridge. I ate bread.
You ate bread, yeah, the staple, the Greek village staple. So, Mum, fast-tracking a little bit, what was your first job? And where was that?
In Scone. Fish and chips, selling fish and chips. Now the first job was that this fella hired me to be a waitress without speaking English. I just think one word. The only word I found I really learned was cauliflower.
Cauliflower.
And that was in the boat.
Yeah.
Because I thought the cauliflower sounded funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, there was this fella, he was so tall and so handsome. And he said to me, you go, but he showed me with his fingers, you go and, there was husband and wife waiting to be served at lunchtime. You go and say, yes, please.
Ah, yes, please.
Yeah.
Then it begins.
And I said, yes, please. And they said to me, two brooms, please. 2 brooms. I ran to the kitchen and I said, 2 brooms, please.
You very proudly went to the kitchen.
With 2 brooms.
Did they know what you meant?
Yeah, of course, broom. And this fella is so tall, he started laughing. I thought the ceiling will come down. But he was good because every time he opened his mouth, he would teach me a word.
Oh, good.
And he was a very decent fella. It's not a fella who wanted to look at me because I was young or something.
Yeah. So, Mum, considering a lot of your other migrant friends and even ones that came out later, out of all of those people, you're the one that speaks English the best and the most. What do you think?
Because I got mixed up with Australian people. I didn't get mixed up with Greek. Who was Greek in Scone? Who was Greek in Newcastle? Now it's Greeks in Newcastle.
Right, so really in a way you were like that part of that first wave of migrants that came in. Yeah.
The second boat.
Yeah, wow. Because I remember when I was 3 or 4, everyone wanted me to be the bridesmaid because there was no other children, to be the bridesmaid for people. So that was part of that generation.
Because they were marrying whoever they gave him.
Yeah, they were marrying a lot of the men were coming out to Australia and then bringing their brides over. Yeah,
and then the boats will come full of brides. They could pick from there, go down to Woolloomooloo. And there there's this fellas waiting in the Woolloomooloo deck with huge bunches of flowers.
Waiting for their beloveds to come. Yeah. That must have been exciting.
I don't think so.
Of course it would have been exciting.
We were standing there waiting to see what the bride for this other fellow is looking and what's the other fellow is looking.
That would have been like watching Netflix or something.
Yeah, it's a bit of a gossip, yes.
So what is it why didn't you go back to live in Greece if things were so difficult?
We never had the money.
Do you think you would have gone
back?
back?
We had a very hard time saving the money to buy a house. We bought a house in Islington.
Do you think you would have gone back, Mum? Do you think you would have if you could have, or you just...
I don't think so, because I had a very tough family and I would not face my father by leaving for you.
So it was another 28 years since you went back and saw your family again. Yeah. And
Yeah, and it was the first time my father felt sorry for me. He says, that child is coughing. My God, it was smoking, but it was smoking secretly. That child is coughing. You've got to look after. He was telling my mum, I could hear it.
This is when you came back?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was your smoker's cough.
He never liked me. How come he likes me to die?
Well, I think he had lots of regrets himself and, all of that.
No, he asked me, he said, why did you separate from your husband? I said, because he wasn't a good husband. He says, yeah, but you married him, you eloped with him, you married him with love. I said, yeah, but the love finished then.
Well, I suppose for people in a horio like that, the idea of separating and those sorts of things, it wasn't a common thing. I thought
the girl is in the wrong.
Yeah.
But I wasn't in the wrong when I separated him.
So now you're in your 89th year.
I've got lovely grandchildren and lovely children, and I'm okay.
And you're okay. And yeah, how does that feel to see your grandchildren now? And
it feels lovely. I won't be here very long.
Yeah. Well, everyone is so. Everyone loves you and everyone adores you. And I was thinking myself the other day, if somebody asked me, what is it that you left behind in the world, Yia? And I thought to myself, you know what? I have given a lot of people Greek coffee, so now all of these people are drinking Greek coffee. If I've never left anything else, that's what I've left behind, and I thought that was quite amusing. What do you feel that you leave for us, Mum?
Good life.
A good life, yeah. It's amazing what one woman, having gone through so many things, has. Your legacy and these beautiful grandchildren and their kindness and their generosity and their humour. Everybody's very funny in this family, good humour and love. It's to your credit, Mum, and all your really hard work over these many, many years. So we're all very, very grateful. Yeah. So thank you. Thanks, Mum.